Okay, today's video is about finding a missing numerator or denominator when adding or subtracting fractions. And in this case, we're going to start off very simply by just finding the missing fraction. Then we'll move to finding the missing numerator or denominator. There's two ways you can go about doing this problem. One is rewriting, so this would be the first way. Rewriting this subtraction to an addition problem. So you take 1/5, which is your answer, and we're going to add it to 3/10 because this is originally a subtraction problem. Now you know that we can't add denominators unless they're the same, so I'm going to use 10 as my common denominator. I don't need to change this fraction, but I do need to multiply this one times 2 times 2 and then write that new numerator of 2. So when I add these, I get 5/10. This essentially is the fraction that goes in for the missing, the ones that are question marks right here. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is just simply not rearranging, but just writing them with a common denominator. So here's your second way to do it. You have originally question marks, and you're trying to subtract 3/10 from some number that will give you 1/5 as a result. So this one you can't rewrite because we don't know what it is. This one is 3/10, and I'm going to use 10 as my common denominator. Remember that I do the same thing, multiply 2 times 2. This gives me 2/10. So if I just think, what could this question mark right here be in order to subtract 3/10 to get a difference of 2/10? So the only thing this could be would be 5/10. Okay, so that's definitely one way to do it. Okay, so now we have a different example. Here we're still looking for the missing fraction, so I'll show both ways again. Remember that the first way was to rewrite it using inverse operations. This is addition, we're going to do subtraction. So you're going to say 3/4, always start with the answer, minus 1/3 is going to give me that question mark I'm looking for. So the first thing I notice is they don't have the same denominator, so I'm going to have a common denominator of 12. I'm then going to multiply this one times 3 times 3. That's going to give me 9 for this one. And then the other one I had to multiply times 4 times 4. And that's going to give me 4 on the top. Over here you're subtracting. So the only thing this could possibly be would be to subtract 9 from 4. And I get 5/12, and that is the missing question mark right here. Okay? The other way you could do it, here's the second way, would be to leave them in the form that they are, 1/3 plus question mark equals 3/4. I'm going to still use 12 as my common denominator. Fill everything else in. Remember that this one I have to multiply times 4 times 4, so that's 4. And then over here I have to multiply times 3 times 3, which gives me 9. So I have to figure out what fraction can go in here so that I end up with 9/12. The only one that's going to fit in is 5/12. Okay, now let's try solving for the missing numerator or denominator. Okay, for this slide, notice that we now have a missing numerator. So we just have to do one extra step. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, you can go back to using your ways. There's two ways to do this. The first way would be to rewrite that so that we're doing an opposite operation. But we're doing subtraction, so we really just need to flip these two right here. Okay, so we're going to do 5/6 minus 1/2 equals question mark over 3. So I'm going to use 12 as my common denominator, minus 12. And now that I have a number here, it's not just a question mark in the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and write 12 here. Now, remember, in order to rename fractions, I need to multiply the top and the bottom by the same number. So this is going to be 10 here. Same thing here. I'm going to multiply this times 6. 6. And this will be 6/12. So the only thing this can be is 4/12. Alright, and finally, our original fraction, remember, has a 3 in denominator, so we're just going to have to rename our 4/12 so that there is a 3 in the denominator, and to do that, we're going to divide by 4, divide by 4, and this number here is going to be 1. So our question mark is equal to 1. Learning the second way to do it is simply just writing the fractions like they are already. 5/6 minus question mark 3 equals 1/2. Now we're going to use common denominator, and I used 12, but I could have used 6. I didn't even think about that. 12, 12, and 12. I'm going to then put in all my symbols, and I'm going to now rename fractions. This will be times 2 times 2. That makes this 10. And then I'm going to do times 4 times 4. So this is going to be empty because remember it's a question mark. And then this one is times 6 times 6, which is going to give me 6 over this. So now you have to think, what can I subtract from 10 to get 6? The only thing that could possibly go in the question mark would be 4/12. But remember, our original fraction had a 3 in the denominator. So I'm going to have to figure out how do I get from 12 to 3, divide by 4, divide by 4, and I get 1. So again, our missing digit is 1. Okay, so here's our last example. We're finding a numerator again, and notice that we are going to, there's several ways you can do this. My first way is to rewrite it. So I have 13 25ths minus 11 50ths is going to equal something over 10. So let's get them all in common denominator. I want to use 50, 50, 50. This one I don't have to write. It's already in this common denominator. This one I'm going to do times 2 times 2. That would make this 26. But it's a subtraction, so if I subtract 11 from 26, I get 15. But keep in mind, my original denominator was 10. So I'm going to have to rename this fraction. Equals, now we're going to, I need to get to 10. Divide by 5, divide by 5, and 3/10. So our question mark is equal to 3. Alright, if you're going to do it the second way, you're not rearranging anything, you're just simply writing with the new denominators. So let's write our original problem. I'm going to use 50 as my denominator, that's what I did before. 50 plus 11 over 50, I don't even have to change, equals 50 here. I have to multiply the top and bottom by 2. This makes this 26. And then I have to think what number 11 added to it is going to equal 26. The only number that can go here is 15. Now again, this is not the original denominator, 10 is, so I'm going to have to rename my fractions, getting 10 on the bottom, which we just did over there with that first way of doing things. Divide by 5, and I get 3. So again, 3 is our missing digit.